Hi, this is Dekuzor, and today we're launching a new gameplay single-player series on the channel. If you're curious why I have been absent from YouTube for the past year, I might leave a explanation in the description of this video or another video, or I might make a separate video about that. But anyway, today we are launching a gameplay series on Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, published by EA Games back in 2001 and developed by No Wonder Games, who are now defunct. This game is available for PC and for Mac. The face value differences between the two are not relevant to any discussion I can possibly have with you, but I will acknowledge that I have no ability to bug test or troubleshoot any problems you might have with the Mac OS version, as I only have a Windows PC. That being said, I do have ownership of both versions. I have the CDs. But that's neither here nor there. So, the first obstacle you're going to experience when playing a game from 2001 is compatibility. For one thing, digital versions of this game don't really exist officially in any capacity, and so because I'm not the type of person who likes to endorse illegal activity, we're going to go over official methods, and I'll leave you to less official explorations on Google. So the first problem you're going to run into is not having an optical disk drive for most computers in the present day. In 2019, optical disk drives like CD-ROM drives and DVD drives have pretty much gone the way of the dinosaur in favor of digital streaming. You can remedy this by purchasing a USB optical drive, which is what I've done. They're not that expensive and they're not that difficult to set up, although I will say that they're a little bit bulky and some of the cheaper brands are known to not work very well. But, for a first time installation, a one-time thing, having one on hand is pretty useful for getting mileage out of old CDs. So I do recommend that, even if not for this particular instance. The second thing you're going to run into when you install the game on the disk is you're going to run into the on-disk DRM after you finished installing. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone uses a DRM, on-disk DRM, that is the company that supplied it no longer exists, and I think they don't have any recent updates to that DRM software anyway, the driver that it uses. So Microsoft has actually blocked the ability for that DRM to be used. You can find a workaround for there's sirens. Sorry, Japan. But yeah, you can find a workaround for. Oh my god, maybe I'll just wait. Okay, you can find a workaround for the on-disk DRM. There's ways to get command lines to disable Windows protocol for blocking that. I do not necessarily recommend it because it is blocked for a reason, it being outdated and being a pretty big security vulnerability. What I will recommend is the legally gray option of going to a website like this website, fdocena.com, who it's run by a guy who seems to be fairly good at computer programming and web design. Oh, the cat's eating. Oh my gosh, I can't have a quiet moment. By Federico Docena. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He offers patched files for particularly the installation of Harry Potter. He doesn't offer a full installation of the game. He offers just patches to stuff that won't work properly. And you can download them right at this link on his website on screen now. And what you're really after is this hp.exe file. And this hp.exe file is a custom executable that is designed to ignore the DRM call. So having that in your installation folder will enable you to actually launch the game. You just replace the hp.exe executable in the installation folder, which by default should be Program Files 86, EA Games, Harry Potter System. But if you're installing it somewhere else, yeah, the system folder inside your chosen installation folder. And so what you're doing is you're just replacing the hp.exe executable. Yeah, the other things that he has in that folder are updates to the rendering engine, because there are issues with rendering transparencies in this game, as seen in this picture. This happens for the Philosopher's Stone and for the Chamber of Secrets in Harry Potter on PC. And so if you're running into that issue, updating those DLLs could help. I actually don't think it'll always work though, because I've run into it anyway. And usually restarting the game for Philosopher's Stone fixes that issue. The second advantage of using this executable is it circumvents the need to have the CD in the future. Having the CD for installation is one thing, but having to put in a USB disc optical disc reader, and find the disc and pop that in just to play the game, it's really stressful. So having the exe not look for that on disk DRM, and also not need the disk in the first place, which I think is basically the same, not the same process, but it's done in the same check. It's useful not to have to do that. Yeah. Things that you might want with this executable: you might want to run it in administrative mode, and you definitely want to run it in compatibility mode for Windows XP Service Pack 2 at the very least. Reduced color mode can help with some bugs in the game. Yeah. Finally, what I should say is this is a game from 2001, like I mentioned. It's running Unreal Engine 1. I definitely think that most graphics cards by today's standards are going to be pushing a higher resolution and higher frame rates than what was originally intended, because the developers originally tied the physics and the sound cues to the frames per second of the game. Running this game at a high FPS will actually break certain physics and will corrupt your sound and cause animations to play faster. Now, I like to play this game in 60 FPS because it's just more fluid, more comfortable, more fun, but certain things will cause glitches, and there's one particularly nasty one in the Lumos challenge that will actually soft lock your game if you're running at 60 FPS. So the safe FPS to run the game as intended would be about 25 FPS. I've seen 30 FPS tossed around, but I see consistently results that I remember when I had this game on my Windows XP machine when I was a kid at around 25 FPS. The best and really only way to limit this FPS that I know of is to use DxStory. DxStory is available at xcode.com, and And you can go to this advanced tab here in order to limit the video FPS, and you can just select it for, I would select it for the exe process you have in mind, actually, instead of just overall. Yeah, it's not freeware. It's it's trialware, and then you have to pay for it. So, but the freeware version, if you choose to only use it for this game, does work for this purpose. More features are available though in the full version. So I'll leave that up to you what you do with that information. One final thing, I was running into an error called the general protection fault error. Mr. Dasena seems to only talk about this in regards to the sequel, The Chamber of Secrets, but I was having the same problem with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for PC. And what I have to say is, I think, yeah, what I think is happening here is what he's suggesting is happening. Basically, a broken video driver profile for this application. What happens with video drivers is um, they they often have preloaded profiles, especially NVIDIA cards have preloaded profiles for certain games, and they will choose those profiles based on the name of the exe. And so occasionally what will happen is that the the video driver will choose a profile for the game that is incorrect, and in doing so will in fact um, this cause problems with the game, or in this case make it so that the game does not launch, which is definitely the more egregious of the two possibilities. So what he suggests and seems to work actually is just renaming the exe, which has worked for me. So I simply renamed my exe to anything else, but I recommend naming it to something that you can recognize so that you can troubleshoot later. And so I've renamed my my executable from hp.exe to potter.exe. And that should allow you to just do this and launch the game. Yeah, I hope this was helpful. Most of my gameplay for this game will be in 60 FPS, with some of it dropping down to 25 FPS to avoid glitches and bugs. So look forward to that. I'm sorry for the FPS drops in the future. Hope you enjoy this game. Bye.